Hi, hope you guys are doing okay. I'm gonna do a couple videos for this week for you to watch because we have a lot to get through before your first speech. So if you didn't notice, I did post a couple of assignments. You've got a, excuse me, I think I need some tea. Topic proposal that will be due a week from today on the 14th, and I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that. But it's just to let me know what you're thinking, basically, for your informative speech that we won't be giving until the end of the month, but I want to work ahead. That way, if you have any problems or questions or anything along the way, we've got plenty of time to work on it. And then your outline will be due a week after that, I believe on the 20th or 21st, but it's posted on assignments. I also posted an extra credit assignment on there as well. So if you feel like that's something you want to do, feel free. You'll just be reviewing a couple online speeches and you can read the instructions in there, and up to 20 points extra credit if you choose to do those. It's totally optional, so don't feel like you have to do it. Or if you just don't have anything else to do, you can do that as well. So in this lesson, we are going to be talking about how important the beginning and ending are to a speech. Actually, I always say that the beginning of a speech, your introduction, is the most important part of the speech because, well, there's a lot of reasons why. Here we go. If I didn't come out with a good attention getter and get you interested in my speech right off the bat, what's going to happen? You're just going to check out, right? I'm going to lose you. So if I started out saying, yeah, so today my speech is going to be on the coronavirus, you're going to go, oh my gosh, please not more about the coronavirus. But if I said, imagine if you were a single mom with 2 small children and you were the only income in the family and everything in your world completely was turned upside down overnight, and you lost your job, you lost your daycare, and you don't know where to turn for help. Well, that's what happened to a lot of people when the coronavirus came to be. See, big difference on, it's all how you set it up. It's all about getting attention. So that's why I always say the introduction to the speech is the most important. The conclusion is the second most important. Why do you think that is? Well, if you have a good conclusion and you leave everybody with a thought or, a final wrap up or something interesting or with a great story, they're going to remember that, right? But usually in the middle, you can kind of lose people or even lose your way during the speech, and it's okay as long as you have a killer introduction and a strong conclusion. So 4 main things, these 4 things here, you have to do in the introduction of your speech. In fact, on your topic proposal guidelines that I posted, you have to write down, what are these 4 things? How am I going to do this? So first thing you want to do is get the attention. And there's a million different ways you can do that. Second, what is the topic? What are we talking about? I've had students completely forget to do that, and they literally get into their speech for about 2 minutes, and you're sitting there going, oh, what's the speech about? They're kind of talking about the sky, and are they talking about UFOs? Like, I don't know. So you always want to reveal your topic. Establish credibility. Why should we believe you? Why did you choose this topic? Or a goodwill statement. How is this going to help me? How is this going to make my life better? And then you always want to preview your body, your main points in the introduction. These 4 things you have to do in the introduction. So some of the ways you can gain attention. You can find a way to relate the topic to the audience. So, not to beat the dead horse, but if I were to give a speech on maybe how the coronavirus affected people here in Springfield, I might say, wow, when was the last time you ate out at your favorite restaurant? well, can you go there now? Everybody's going to go, no, I'm really sad. I can't go there now. We tried to go to Maria's the other night. I was hoping that they had curbside because I love Maria's. And I was really hoping that they could provide a curbside margarita, but that didn't happen. So yeah, you want to relate it or tell us how important the topic is. You know, sooner or later, you are going to be faced with, boom, this thing. Maybe you want to startle the audience. I don't know if I would always recommend that, but it works. You know, 1 out of 3 of you at some point is probably going to get, I don't know, whatever disease is going around. You can start out by asking a question. How many of you thought this class would be online, especially after I told you how to never take speech class online? It's like, who would have thought? You can start with a question. You can begin, if you're really stumped on a good introduction, you can always look up a good quote about your topic. Google's amazing, and there's so many websites that have great quotes from amazing people. One of my favorite people to get quotes from is Maya Angelou, and she always has great quotes about everything. I think the #1 way to start a speech is by telling a story. Why? Because everybody likes a good story. It's from the heart. It usually, when you tell a story, you're feeling emotion when you're telling the story. So your audience is going to feel that emotion, and they're going to be drawn in, and they're going to be more interested in what you're saying. So, wow, I taught online public speaking last semester because they needed help. So I did it. I didn't really care for it. I didn't think it was all that beneficial to the students. It was a lot more work for them, a lot more work for me, for not a lot of benefit. So now I'm scratching my head going, okay, how can I still do this and make it a good experience for everybody? So that's a story. That was a true story, actually. You can also use visual aids. Use a picture, use a video, very powerful. Recently had a student start out a persuasive speech with a picture of a car that's actually on display at a rest stop off I-44. They have a display of a car that's completely trashed, mangled, and there's a sign in front of it telling you who was driving this car and that they were texting while driving, and they're no longer living. But they had a picture of that at the beginning of their speech, and that was very, very powerful when they were telling the story. And as soon as you saw that picture, they didn't really have to say anything else because the picture was just so powerful and really did speak 1,000 words. So those are some ways to get attention. So credibility just tells us why we should pay attention to you, why you are qualified to give us this information. And it can be something as, you don't have to be an expert. It can be something as simple as, you know what, I've always been interested in traveling to Alaska. So I've read a ton of books, watched a lot of movies. I watched that crazy show on the History Channel where the people live off the land in Alaska. And it's just always been really interesting to me. It could just be something that's a topic interesting to you that you know a lot about. So you could either pick between a credibility statement or a goodwill statement. A goodwill statement is just, you know, hopefully after the speech, you'll realize how important it really is to exercise every day. So just showing that I have your best interest in mind. So you've got your attention getter, you've got your credibility, now you've got the preview statement. So in this speech, I plan on telling you the 3 easiest ways to get good exercise in just 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week by either walking, jumping, doing jumping jacks, or maybe just doing calisthenics in your living room. Boom. 3 main points. That's all you have to do is just give the main points. In fact, I always remember when I was in high school and I was taking speech class and I was terrified, just like you. And I remember my dad telling me, you know, speech is pretty simple. He said, really, all you have to do in a speech is just tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Really? Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So you're previewing your three main points, you're giving your three main points, and then you're recapping your three main points. So that's really all you have to do. So attention, credibility, preview statement, and then obviously you're going to reveal your topic. You're going to tell us what you're going to talk about. So when you're working on your introduction, you don't want to go too long. I look at the body of a speech like the human body. So the introduction is your head. The body of your speech is probably your neck down to your ankles. And then your conclusion is your feet. So biggest part's the body, next biggest part's the introduction, and then the feet is the conclusion. So yeah, you don't want it to be too long. You want it to be concise. You want to have your research ready and be creative, because the more creative an introduction is, the better the speech. You can say funny things, tell us a joke, have a sense of humor, tell us a crazy story. So you kind of start out working on your intro, but then usually after you finish completing your speech, you'll go back and tweak your introduction, because maybe you changed one of your points a little bit. So you're going to need to change that in your introduction as well. Now your conclusion is just that. You're signaling the end of the speech. You're giving us a heads up that, hey, we're almost ready here. And it just kind of helps your audience follow along and gives them a tip that, wow, okay, we're almost done. So really the two main things you have to do in a conclusion is tell us in conclusion, you're almost done, to wrap up, to summarize any of those things. And then you just recap your three main points. You know, I told you the three most fun things to do when you are bored at home and have nothing to do. Different ways you can end a speech. If any of you are musicians, then you probably know this term, crescendo, which means to start out soft and then get louder and louder. If you ever watch any of Martin Luther King's speeches, he was one of the greatest at this. He would start talking very softly and then just get louder and louder and more powerful, and then just boom, leave you with this huge ending. Not probably going to happen as much in this class, but it is one way to do it. Or the opposite, dissolving. So maybe, you know, you've been here and you're talking about this and this and this, and you're persuading us, you know, why we should fasten our seatbelts and why we shouldn't text. And then at the end, maybe you bring it back, and maybe you tell a story, and maybe you talk about somebody you knew that was in an accident because they were texting, and you know, you don't want that to happen to your friends, so don't text and drive. So sometimes it's a lot more powerful to end on a soft note than on a big note. So in your conclusion, you can end either way you want. You just want to summarize your main points, and after that, you can just be creative. You can end with a quote. You can end with a dramatic statement. You can refer back to the intro. So as I told you in the introduction, you know, if you want to exercise every day, well, here's the 3 easiest ways to do it, and you're going to feel better, look better, and sleep better. So lots of different ways to reinforce your central idea, but the main things in the conclusion is just signal it's a conclusion, recap, and then leave us with a statement. Leave us with something besides, okay, I'm done. You know, you can just live with, hey, I hope that you enjoyed the speech, and maybe, you know, next time you're thinking about taking a trip, you'll consider going to Alaska too. It can be something as simple as that. End with a bang, not a whimper. Make it brief. A conclusion can be as short as 20, 30 seconds. But you definitely want to work it out and practice it. If you don't practice anything else in your speech, practice your introduction and your conclusion and get those worked out. That's going to make your speech so much stronger, so much more powerful, and so much more memorable. And I hope that helps you. Once again, please comment that you watched this, that you got it. If you have any questions, comments, sarcastic remarks, or anything, please leave those and I will mark you present for today's class. And thank you so much and stay safe.